I found some carp basking in the winter, so I took the opportunity to do my best to get some underwater footage. And I thought to myself, what could I do to get the best footage possible and learn something from some good underwater footage to show you guys? Well, the best bait for this time of year has to be maggots, casters and worms. I had my underwater camera ready to record a time lapse for 48 hours to see what we could learn. The footage that I captured blew me away. So by the end of this video, let me know how it might change your fishing. Blue sky day today, and the sun's going to be out all day, and I thought it'd be really interesting to put a drone over some fish and see their response to live food. So I'm about to go off to my local tackle shop, see what I can get, maybe some maggots, worms, casters, stuff like that, and put it in front of an underwater camera and put it on time lapse and just see how they respond to it. So I was driving off to the tackle shop. I've looked through this gateway and there's a load of deer. I thought I'm going to stop for a shot because it's a beautiful morning. I'm going to get a shot of these. There's a bloody lovely deer. Yeah, look. Bloody sheep. What donut? Just been into TK Tackle in Cardiff, a little tackle shop, independent shop that I've been going to my whole life. It's amazing that little shops like that can keep going, but fair play to them. Same little lady that's served me for as long as I've been going in there, as long as I've been fishing, so many years now. So yeah, popped in, got some casters, 2 packs of casters, a couple of pints of mixed maggots, and a pack of worms. So let's chuck that in front of the camera. It'll be really interesting to watch them over certainly a 24-hour period to see how the fish respond in the freezing cold temperatures. So let's get over to the lake now and set up a camera and chuck it in front of it. So when I got to the lake, having been there the day before and found fish and seeing how they were behaving, it was blue sky and crystal clear water, so I knew that they'd be easy to find. Mixed maggots. I just wanted to get some good content in front of the camera. So I put the drone up to find the fish first and found quite a few sat doing nothing. And I started to think perhaps it's not going to be as easy as I thought to get these fish in front of the camera. So I started looking around and started to find a little bit of coloured water with a few fish, so I thought they must be feeding. And as I hovered the drone over them, I saw 1 or 2 fish tilt up and feed. Perfect, that's exactly where I headed for. I hovered the drone over those fish and went out in the boat. And conveniently, there was a lovely clean gravel hump there, which I thought would be perfect to put the camera on. If I could get those fish just to come across from where they were feeding and feed on these maggots and worms, we're going to get some great footage. That's what we're aiming for. I'm guiding myself in with the drone down there. I can see the drone in the sky. I've got to go underneath it on that lovely spot. Put my live bait on there. So that's what I did. I got the boat out and paddled beneath the drone, guiding myself in. I could see that I was coming closer and closer to this gravel hump, and I started to see a few fish. Coming into shot now, I would imagine. Okay, yeah, lots of colour here now. Surprise, surprise. Keep going. There's a fish, there's 2 fish, good fish, in front of me. I can just see them. Don't just bang the boat, that's never a good thing. Okay. So, we're just coming over the spot there. Okay, there's a gravel raise here, and that's where we're going to put it all. So if I just slow down, it's a gravel hump. I want to be on the sun wants to be behind me underneath the boat now. So if I back up a bit, the boat's going to move around a fair bit, but hopefully put the camera in like that. I need to go back a bit. So we get the full spot in shot. The camera is submerged, hopefully it's nicely waterproofed. Nice fabrication of mine, which is always a worry. What does that look like down there? That's alright. Leave the bloody... Fucking hell, this is a nightmare. Right, I need to get the other side of the camera, really. Okay, how's that look? I think that's alright. Whilst I was trying to relocate the camera slightly off of the spot to appear less blatant, I had no idea that the shoal of fish were on their way back to see what I was up to. Back another 2 or 3 foot. Flowing over it again. Shit. Just covered the water up a little bit putting that in. But I'll take the GoPro off here a minute. I was happy with the position of the camera, so it was just a case of spreading the bait in front of it. Oh, it looks lovely drifting down through the water. Look at that. See that up here. The almost neutral buoyancy of the casters and maggot looked awesome as they slowly settled down in front of the camera. I could not wait to return in 48 hours to review the footage. What I didn't realise until I watched the drone footage back was just how inquisitive the fish were to me in their environment. As soon as I leave, they're hot on my toes following me. Driving away from the lake after setting up the camera on that beautiful day and seeing fish, I was super confident of getting some amazing footage. I got the best bait I could think of for that time of year. I found fish. I'd even seen fish feeding on the drone before I put the camera in. I could not wait to get back there to review the footage after 48 hours. Straight away we have one ghosting in from just behind the spot. When I first played this time lapse back, I let a little bit of wee out, knowing just how exciting the next 24 hours footage would be. Perfect, lovely mirror. Not interested in feeding that. Another beauty, still unfazed by a lake crawling with naturals. What a shot. Here we go. Anyone? Anybody? Dust? No. Look at them, still full of life, dancing along the gravel. Surely one of them's going to drop on them. Oh, handsome boy. Oh, now they're just posing. Oh, that's a unit. Hey up, he's having a look. Oh, they're all about mid-water, aren't they? Yeah, this one looks like he's going to jump. No, oh, fair enough. Belter. What's that then? After watching back the first 24 hours footage, I was in complete disbelief that no fish dropped down on that food. No fish at all. Was it because it was too daunting, just too much food, crawling with life? Maybe the lake bed was just too active and they'd not seen anything like that before? I don't know. Was it just too cold? Well, the drone caught fish feeding just minutes before I put the camera in, so I can kind of cross that one out. This lake is supplementary fed with my feeds, only really in the summer and the sort of growing months, because it's very low stock. We don't really feed that much to these fish. And again, they were feeding before we put the camera in, on basically natural food. We saw them feeding in the silt, clouding up the silt right next to the camera. Maybe they were just uncomfortable with the camera being there. It is quite unnatural to have that big glowing silver camera. Maybe it's making a noise that we can't hear. Maybe it's some sort of frequency underwater that we can't pick up on. Maybe they're a little bit nervous and a little bit uncomfortable about that. But I have filmed underwater here before, and I've caught some good footage of them feeding in front of the camera. Or maybe there was an issue with the maggots. Were they maybe not fresh enough? Were they giving off maybe a little bit of ammonia? Or was it just that it was high pressure, blue sky, really bright sunlight, and they weren't interested in feeding, they just wanted to bask in the sun? Again, we caught them feeding just before we put the camera in. But anyway, the second day was due to be more overcast, less high pressure. Maybe things are about to change for day 2. Noticed how the next day the maggots are still active and wriggling around the spot, but the key point is they're still alive and they're still there. There's this myth that maggots will crawl off the spot and spread out. Does this footage finally blow that theory out of the water? I speak to a lot of my fishery customers and we talk about feeding through the winter, and my message is always the same. The motive changes in the winter to less of a progression and growth angle to encourage a behavioural activity to keep the fish active and moving. Obviously, freshwater fish are cold-blooded, they have a single intestine and they have digestive enzymes along that intestine that are extracting nutrient from that intestine. So those digestive enzymes are very poor at extracting the gut content nutrients. In colder water temperatures, the optimum water temperature for those digestive enzymes to extract nutrient from the intestine is around about 26 or 27 degrees for cyprinids. So it's very rare that in the UK we get those climates where water temperatures are at an optimum for digestion efficiency. So the colder the water temperatures get, the less effective they are at extracting the nutrient from their diet. So there's no point spending more than you need to on a high spec diet, because those nutrients that you're paying for just aren't going to be absorbed by those cold-blooded fish. So instead, we just feed a small amount to keep fish active and give them reward for feeding. We're trying to encourage them to graze and look for food, reward them for dropping down on that lake bed and having a little feed, because that's just going to keep their metabolism flowing through the winter, to keep those biological processes firing and working through the winter, so that when you come to the spring, the transition into the spring and the warmer months is pretty seamless and not problematic, because that is potentially the most vulnerable time of year for fish, transitioning into that spring period, because as water temperatures increase, bacterial and viral activity are starting to increase, but the natural defences of cold-blooded animals like fish are slow to respond to that water temperature. They're slow to pick up, so sometimes that bacteria and infection can take hold of the fish when they're still in their kind of winter lethargy and that sort of state of winter dormancy. By keeping fish active and feeding, you're stopping them from slipping into that winter state where they become quite vulnerable in the spring, and any problems in the spring are going to give you spawning complications which can affect the whole year. So on a bigger scale, winter feeding is actually really effective to avoid those spring problems and make sure you get the biggest growth window in the summer as possible. So you're not going to see an awful lot of growth in the winter, but you will see an improvement in condition and activity in your fishery if you carry on through the winter. But this video will hopefully show you that it's not always a good idea to feed, because sometimes fish just will not feed. No matter what you serve up for them, hopefully this video proves that they just sometimes just don't want any food. So it's really important to know when those times are, and that's something that's a constant learning process. I don't have the answers for that one. And if you're a fishery, then you can use your catch reports as a kind of gauge about how active your fish are and what sort of appetite they have for food, because if catches are good and fish are being caught, then that tells you they have a demand for food. They're looking for food, so it's good to reward them for looking for food. And although anglers like to think that, oh, if you're feeding them, we're not going to be able to catch them because they'll be full, it's actually the opposite, because they can become confident for feeding, because they're being rewarded for looking for food without being caught, and they start to gain confidence in feeding. It's like pre-baiting. The more you feed the fish, the more confident they become, the easier they are to catch. So that is why we encourage people to continue feeding small amounts through the winter to promote these positive behavioural changes in your fish. Wow, what did you think of that? Literally no fish visited the maggots at all. The lake bed is still crawling with maggots and worms. Nothing has fed on them. Really interested to see why you think that is. We've been over a few theories and kind of crossed everyone out. They're just carp, we can't tell, we'll never be sure, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Put them in the comments. There'll be loads more like this coming to the channel, so make sure you're subscribed. I really hope to enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed editing it. I'm learning so much from filming like this underwater. I can't wait to get out there and film some more.